Hi guys, welcome back to another quick card pull. This is pulled on Monday, March 30th, 2026. Today we're pulling from the Spirit Animals Oracle cards. This is a new card that we didn't get from the last one, but we have Rebirth. So we're heading into the pink Libra moon, that is influenced by Venus. So any rose quartz crystals you have to charge, definitely do that. If salt and cinnamon, or if that resonates with you, salt and cinnamon ceremonies, first of the month. It's the first day of Passover. So a lot of, buildup of energy here. But I love butterflies because when my father passed away, I saw a monarch butterfly. And then when Shane passed away, it was a black, very beautiful blue and black butterfly. Blue's his favorite color, which I love. And my dad's very earth tone. But, I love the fact of in a chrysalis, so they're showing the hermit kind of card, coming out of your chrysalis, reborn, ready to fly. This is what this whole year is about, right? This whole lunar cycle. So with this hangover retrograde energy, I feel like that's why they're saying be open to rewards of change. I love the fact that it's a reward though, but I feel like it's be open to change, be open to accepting. Because a lot of us do have a hard time, especially when we've been hurt a lot, to accepting gifts, accepting rewards, accepting help, period. I love that it says, enjoy every part of your journey, because not every day is going to be perfect. Not every situation is going to be perfect. Things are going to come up. And my son has taught me that. He's don't hate the person, and it's not like I hated the person. I was just frustrated that I was my lack of being able to help. You wish, but nothing to take things away from people, and, because maybe you're better equipped to deal with it, but, like my son taught me, he's pray for the situation. That's what I've been doing, but it's Spirit had mentioned something last night about that situation, and it's that's all you could pray for. I love this energy, always prepared, and I feel like that's kind of the story with the ant and the grasshopper. I feel like it's also, but I feel like a lot of us that are like that, where we are always try to prepare or have a backup plan. You know what I mean? It's we try to plan for plan A, B, C, D. Even lovely Mimi, on all social media, you probably know her from Love and Hip Hop. But she even said the thing that she would tell her younger self is save, because they always tell you to save for rainy days, and she's life is always raining. And I'm nothing has been ever said that is so true. You know what I mean? It's not always raining. Let's be for real. You know what I mean? But it's just you know what I mean? Things Shane passing away was definitely not on my bingo card, or certain situations where I thought I was planning, being prepared because I was the spender, he was the saver, and that was far from the truth. You know what I mean? So it's just it's when I get kind of it's near the end of the month, and my post-traumatic stress disorder comes up, oh my gosh, but even though everything's fine, you know what I mean? And another instant happened last month, where it was something out of my control, had nothing to do with me, you know what I mean? But it's just you know what I mean? It's no matter how prepared you try to be, something is always trying to pull some fuckery, to be honest. We got this vibrance, and I immediately thought of my son. He's graduating in May, and I don't know why I thought of that. I just, that's what I thought of. But I love peacocks. I love, we're coming into the cherry blossom season. Shine and inspire, and I feel well, there you go. That's why. Because they both do shine and inspire. Practice humility. Be grateful for life, and more good things to come will come. And I feel like that's the appreciation card. We can worry about the things that are going on. We mentioned this earlier last week, or maybe even yesterday, but it's we could worry about this, but future tripping. And I try to avoid that, or even allow my higher self to come and be girl, everything's good. If that situation happens, happened last month, we still good. You know what I mean? Don't worry. You know what I mean? I'm trying to embrace, Anastasia's, my way of manifesting and thinking, where it's just there's more of where that came from, and God bless her. I'm not like overspending or anything like that. Like, oh, there's more with, like, you know, don't be like stupid Delulu. You know what I mean? It's just, but I love the way she says that. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, like, you know, you don't have it like that to donate or do whatever, but it's just like whatever you can, you do. And you know what I mean? It comes back to you, like, you just like good karma, good energy. Like, you know, don't expect anything in return. But that, you know, anyone that does give from a good place, that feeling you get. I feel like it's also because, like, the last 3 weeks, it's like my sinuses were inflamed and then cycling, and then now my ear, I'm better now, but my ears and my throat were swollen and it was starting to hurt. So I was taking this syrup that I had from, you know, years ago, and it's like the one where you would gargle and you have to spit it out, but it really does, like, kick whatever is going on, but like, it's like, nah, get out of here, you know what I mean? Get rid of that infection or whatever it is. So, you know, I'm grateful that I feel better. I did get a good sleep last night, but sometimes that stuff can weigh into it. Remember, they're telling you rest, relaxation, rejuvenation. You know what I mean? Like, don't take any more tasks on right now. So, you know what I mean? It's just like, take it easy, rest, rejuvenate, do the things that you need to do. Like, woo-sal is what they're saying. So, you know what I mean? Like, this weekend, like the Friday, a lot of stores are closed. You know what I mean? Saturday, Sunday, people are going to be with family. So I feel like it's like, use this as a resting weekend. We start Passover on Wednesday. So, you know what I mean? I feel like that's where they're like, you know, maybe you want to do this and this and this, but it's just like rest, like, in myself, rejuvenate, recover, like, you know, get ready for, you know, I waited 5.5 hours for them to go tell me to go to a walk-in clinic. I was just so pissed off. I love this because it just was sticking out of the deck, and I was just like, oh, what a beautiful card. But, you know, a lot of us, and I feel like abundance in a lot of ways, you know, we are coming, like, you love, like, the hay and stuff like that, but we're coming into spring, we're coming into summer, we're coming into fall, like, you know what I mean? Like, these beautiful, this is like, you know, summer, not so much. When it comes into those hot temperatures, when it's like my nephew's birthday on till like August 15th, it's hot as hell. It's like, I hide. I do not like the heat, but, you know, it's just like, you know, like they're saying here, wisdom. Abundance comes in so many ways. Remember, we were seeing the books yesterday, and it's like, you know, with the crow's deck, and it's just like wisdom, leveling up, you know, full of goodness, teaching me ways of guidance and prayer. It's just gratitude and prayer. It's so true. I feel like talking about scarcity, it's just like the stance of the animals. Like, if you've watched these over the last couple of videos, if you follow my account, it's like, you know, I feel like confidence. You know what I mean? I just feel like bulls are steady, or buffaloes are steady. You know, they adapt to any situation. I feel like that, you know, the kind of that where they're like prepare, with the first couple of cards there, not prepare, but yeah, prepare, always prepared. And I feel like, you know, with abundance, you know, obviously some situations we ain't always prepared for, because, you know, you put your eggs in a basket that you hope will be the right basket, and it's another story, but it is what it is. What can you do? No point on dwelling on that now. It's already done and over with, but you know what I mean? But it beats me the ways of gratitude and prayer. And that's why I always say, and I know a lot of, I get little snarky, little cheeky comments about it, and I just delete them. I'm just like, whatever. Like, you know, this is not a place for negativity. You know, there's enough of that in the world. But you know what I mean? I'm just like, you know, do your level best. You know what I mean? Put money aside, have your money here, have your money there, a little here, a little there. You know what I mean? Squirrel your money away, you know? That's why I like the squirrel being there. I was just like, resonates. Like, I'll give an example. Spirit told me, like, you know, March 30th. 23rd, I haven't figured out yet. I'll probably figure it out. But, you know what I mean? It's just, like, blessings like that. Like, we got all of my son's graduation stuff today. Like, preparing and getting everything all set up so that way, when we are ready to take pictures and everything, we have everything ready to go. You know what I mean? Like, he's not the type of person, he's like his dad. He doesn't, you know, I was the same way with graduation. I didn't even want to go. Unfortunately, where we lived in Scarborough, there was a shooting and the buses were being diverted. And I said, forget it. I don't want to go. This is a sign not to go. I said, I'll just get my diploma mailed to me. She's like, no, we're going. You know, we ended up going. I was just like, well, like, you know, wasn't a big deal for me. But, you know, it is what it is. Nothing you can do about it. But that's what I'm saying. It's just like, if you appreciate the small things, then you will be that much more, grateful. You won't overlook it. You won't be like, oh, that's it, kind of thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's like when you show more appreciation, the more will come in. Then this baby was sticking out, and I'm just like, there are so many ladybugs in our house. Like, I was like, I'm going to trap them and release them outside. Like, not trap them and hurt them, but like put them in a cup and then release them outside. But the thing is, we're supposed to be getting this big storm on Wednesday. It's going to last Thursday and then Friday. So it'll snow, break. It's like 10 to 20, 25 centimeters of snow, take a break, then 10 centimeters of snow. I just feel like it's just going to be constant accumulation. We'll be hurting this weekend. But that's what I mean. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like, you let them out, they're going to die. So I didn't want to do that. But I love that because I'm just like, there's so many. They're like all over the place. But, you are a bright energy. And I feel like this is just giving yourself some love. And I feel like, get out there and, put your toes between the grass when it starts to warm up. I know a lot of people are heading towards the fall, but, just embrace whatever weathers you got left. Let worry go and be happy here and now. You bless the world with the color and good luck. That's what I mean. It's like you're seen, in a certain way, and it's like, allow the universe to, give you these warm intentions, these warm feelings, my apologies, these, I feel like love, like, how would you say it? Messages of affirmation. I feel like let them love on you. You know what I mean? Like, I always used to push that away, and then, Lois, hey, made a video about that, and I'm like, oh, okay, because I was just like, oh, that sounds kind of arrogant or something, and it's just like, no, that's the universe loving it on you. We were talking about this yesterday, like, magic and, like, messages from our feathered friends, from our birds of the air. For me is eagles and hawks and blue jays and cardinals. Everybody's a little bit different, but like what the owl is major messages, and I love the fact that the leaves are coming. It kind of gives me fall vibes. We are definitely getting some fall vibes with these cards. Like, that bison looked like it was like a wheat harvest, or there's that harvest there that comes in August, but also be preparing, like, prepare, always prepared. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's like they prepare for the fall. They work all hard all summer to prepare for the winter. You see we feed them, and oh my gosh. My mom's like, oh my God, they're so big. I'm just like, oh, they're preparing. But because of the storm coming in, I feel like, why not feed them? Like, why make them suffer? Choose to know the truth because you can. Open to your inner vision. So I feel like someone was saying, oh gosh, I can't remember what his name is on TikTok, but he was saying, like, if you have, colds or whatnot, he's like, this is your sight, hearing, clairvoyance, clairaudience, higher levels of thinking, upgrading. And I was just like, okay. But I'm like, I'm done upgrading. It's like, it's been 3 weeks, You can see through the deception. And the funny thing is like, there's other cards here that were standing out, and I'm like, these don't really go in. Like, Keeper of Secrets. Like, they're talking about deception here. And I'm like, well, this Keeper of Secrets, taking time out from the world and being the observer. I definitely am an observer. I don't, not always, because I'm quiet doesn't mean anything. It's just like, I'm just taking notes, making a mental note. Let the past go and make room for a better life. Rise up. Magic and wisdom are your birthright. Sorry, it's kind of like a cursive kind of thing, and you can't really read it, but, I just feel like it's let go of the things that make you sad. Let go of the thing. Like, sometimes those thoughts will come in, and I'm just like, you know what? This ain't making me happy. You know what I mean? That it doesn't matter. It's been 9 years, especially with, like, dealing with that kind of stuff with Shane, and I'm just like, it's been 9 years. I'm like, you know what I mean? All's been said and done. It ain't gonna change anything. So, just keep moving forward. Keep on, try to make the most out of every day. Every day ain't perfect. Like today, got up, I felt good. I really thought my alarm clocks didn't go off. I got up before my alarm clock. I felt good. You know, as the day goes on, I could feel a little bit of, but it's not as bad as it was. And I feel like that's where they're saying, look for the positive things in the day. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's hard to see that. But I feel like that's where they're saying, bringing in more abundance, bringing in this, like, good luck, this magic. You know what I mean? Just believing in yourself and your abilities. Because some people will hear this and be like, what the heck? Some of you aren't meant to live a life beyond getting up and repeat. You know what I mean? And that's fine. That's what your life was supposed to be. And God bless for that. You know what I mean? And some of us, unfortunately, go through these effed up situations. And because we're meant to share that wisdom and that courage and that journey and that magic and insight and inspiration to help others. You know, Ed and Nancy unfortunately went through it before I did. And they helped myself and hundreds, probably thousands of others. You know, and I started extending on the groups because they're like, you know, get into hobbies. Like, they're like gardening, you know, and then people that end up finding love after losing a significant other. You know what I mean? It's just like, I feel like they give you hope, especially in the beginning. They're like, you know, Ed is very understanding and open about that. And he's, you know, Nancy is taking over, but you know what I mean? It's just like at the beginning, I remember him, you know, being at the forefront, and he's just like, you know what I mean? One day at a time. And you know what I mean? This poor gentleman was dating someone and he was going to propose to her. She ended up breaking up with him, and he was so devastated, and I don't blame him. You know, you just went through this crazy journey. You found someone that, you know, silenced that sadness. I feel like the biggest takeaway is, especially like in this rebirth that's happening that they're showing here, it's like, be prepared. Like, you know, because I feel like you're going to get an influx of money. They're showing the Ace of Cups. But I feel like it's like, you know, support. But also, I feel like it is, you know, blessings in some sort of way. So I feel like it may be from tips, so from what you do, or increased, like in myself, it would be like increased personal readings. You know what I mean? So, unexpected money is what they're saying. You know, with no harm to none, including yourself. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's nice to get, it just depends on the situation. Obviously, you know, some people think when there's a bereavement or something like that has happened that you hit the lottery, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's like far further from it. You know what I mean? And it's like, that does not fill the void of what has happened, because that void is always constant in your life. But the beautiful thing is that, you know, as Spirit is showing, is that there's beautiful things. And I tell my kids this, like, you know, especially when you guys start dating and you meet your partner, and if they want to have a family or whatever that situation is, but it's like birthday parties and anniversaries and just wonderful things that happen in life. It's like you get to start celebrating these things. And I'm like, that's where it's nice to write those dates down, and you can remember and reminisce, like, oh, on this date this happened, you know? It's not like, you know, with myself, with my channels and stuff, like when I hit a certain amount, or, you know what I mean? When I started doing this, and, you know, it's just, it's nice to reminisce about it. And I told my kids, like, you know, I say examples because it's like, you know, sometimes it's hard to see that, you know, it's like, oh, that will always be like this. No, it won't. Your life will get so busy, like myself, where it's just like, you can't even keep up with it and you're exhausted, you know? But at the end of the day, like even my son even says this, he goes, you know, once upon a time, it wasn't like this. There was a lot of silence, you know? And I don't do too well in silence, but I filled it up with tribal trails and mass for shut-ins, and this is what just resonated with me. This is what helped me through my journey. You know what I mean? This has nothing to do with anybody else. You know, whatever you choose to do in your journey is your choice. I think this is like the biggest reminder is, like, don't forget the magic you possess, even if it's a bad day, and, you know, that there's always waves of, you know, if you look at your life, there's always wave of abundance, and always be prepared. You save your money, buy yourself treats, but don't go crazy. You know what I mean? Every paycheck that you get or something comes in, put a little bit of it away, even if it's $20 or $10. But, you know, I love the fact there's like abundance, good luck, and magic, where like the 3 cards, like, you know, and I feel like this is a rebirth in like your finances as well, because I feel like it's just like you've improved that relationship, or you improved your understanding, or like I said, if you come across Anastasia, it's changing the way you manifest. So I hope you enjoyed this quick card pull. May the universe bless you good.